all, it's Tamara here from fitknitchick.com. Welcome to day one, week one of FitKnitchick's Knitting Bootcamp. We've been talking a bit in my Facebook group about running a bit of a workshop to teach some of you how to learn to knit so that you can make lovely things like this cowl. Sweaters, socks, the sky's the limit once you learn a few basics. So what I thought I'd do today is just give you a little bit of a background, some ground rules, tell you a bit about the pattern that I've selected for us to try as our first project, and then you can tune into the second video to get your supplies list. All right, so how many of you guys are never knit before? No, that's not true of me. I knit a lot. If you haven't knit before, one of the most important things to think about when starting to knit is yarn choice. Now, there's lots of cheap yarn out there, and if you go to Michael's craft store or someplace like that, you can buy a huge honkin' ball of acrylic yarn for about $5. I tell you, whatever you make with that yarn will not look nearly as nice as if you had chosen a more expensive yarn to start, even for a beginner project, and you probably won't ever wear it because it's going to itch like crazy. So materials are the most important thing to think about when you're getting started with a new hobby like knitting. I love luxury yarns. We're not going to use a luxury yarn here. I'm going to give you your choice of yarns to use, but remember, when you head to the yarn shop, don't always head for the bargain basket just because you're a new knitter. Splurge, buy something a little bit nicer. Better quality materials lead to better quality products, okay? So when you head to the yarn shop, you're going to have lots and lots of alternatives. There's different materials. The classic material that we knit with is wool. Not everybody likes wool. Wool can be a little bit itchy, although wool these days is not like the wool that your grandma used to knit with 30 years ago. Some people have wool allergies. Some of you, unlike me, live in warm climates where there probably is only one day a year where you could wear something wool. So you may need to choose a different fabric. Hemp, not what you think. Hemp is lovely. Linen, although linen is a little bit tougher to knit with because it's a stiffer fabric. You could choose a blend, like a cotton and silk blend or a wool and silk blend. You want to stay away from things like mohair because they're going to be itchy and they're going to be hard to rip back when you make a mistake, because you will make a mistake when you're first starting out, okay? So there's kind of two ways to buy yarn. One is in these nice little rolled up balls. It's all rolled for you. Sometimes it's a center pull ball. We'll get to that, probably video 3. It's wound. You can find a color number on the back so that when you buy more than one ball of wool, you buy all of the wool for your project with the same dye lot. The lady at your local yarn shop will definitely help you with that. You can also buy yarn in something that's called a skein. So it's a big loop of yarn, and I'll unwrap this one so you can see what it looks like. Don't do this by yourself if you've never done it, because if you mix up the ends, it can be a disaster. It's a big giant loop of yarn. See? Most often skeined yarn is yarn that's been hand dyed or dyed by an independent dyer, not a big yarn company. This is one of my favorite indie dyers, Saffron Dye Works. I've written about them before if you've followed any of my knitting posts. Anyways, if you were to fall in love with a skein of yarn like this, before you leave your yarn store, please ask the woman at the counter. It's always going to be a woman, I hate to tell you. Ask the woman at the counter to wind it for you. She has a special machine called a Swift, an umbrella Swift and a ball winder, that's going to turn this into this, a nice little yarn cake that then will sit flat on your table and you can knit straight from. In the past, before I had my own ball winder and Swift, I would attempt to do this myself. I would make my husband stand here with his hands like this, and I would roll a ball from the loose end. It took forever, and some skeins of yarn will have 500 or 600 meters on them, so your husband might not really want to stand there with his arms like that for the 15 or 20 minutes it might take you to get a ball wound. Okay, so tips for today: if you want to join in, please make sure that you ask for a request to join this Facebook group. I'll leave the link for you down below. I'm going to get going right now and get started on the first video, which will be a materials video, tell you about the pattern that we're going to knit, and tell you what materials that you need to go to your yarn shop and buy. Don't worry, it's a very small list. And After we've got our materials and we've got our group together, we can start with the first lesson. Catch you soon. Happy knitting!